Minecraft's newest game drop, Chaos Cubed, was recently just announced to be complete, meaning it won't receive any more new content before its full release. And it's safe to say that players aren't very happy. The Chaos Cubed drop, one interesting premise, has seemed to leave a large chunk of the community to be quite unsatisfied, even before its feature completion was announced. So why don't players like Minecraft's Chaos Cubed game drop? Well, I think there's a few prominent factors. First of which is just the update itself. Chaos Cubed is a game drop centered around the addition of a new cave biome, being sulfur caves, as well as the new slime mob known as the sulfur cube. The sulfur cube is unique in the sense that you can feed it a variety of different blocks to give it different properties. For example, you can feed a sulfur cube wool to make it floaty, metal objects such as an iron block to make it heavier, ice to make it slide easily, a honey block to make it sticky, or even magma to make it damage entities upon being hit. And these are just a few of the blocks and properties that can be applied to the sulfur cube. The whole point of the mob is to use its different properties to make new contraptions and things like mini games. In the mob's initial reveal, you could see Mojang using it to play games like soccer and golf. If you ask me, I think it's pretty damn cool, but most would say otherwise. So what exactly is the issue with the update itself? I think the biggest is the fact that the game drop doesn't affect how we play the game at all, which was a big complaint for Spring's Tiny Takeover drop. Sure, you can use the sulfur cube to create cool new mini games, but it's another feature similar to a lot of content found within game drops that really doesn't change the way you approach playing the game. And to be fair, this isn't really an issue with the features itself, as dedicated Minecraft fans will find a ton of ways to integrate the sulfur cube into their builds and world. It's more a problem for casual fans, which make up a larger chunk of the fan base, as Minecraft has a huge community, but it's this part of the community that will never really interact with the mob, which is where most of the complaints are coming from. Now, the sulfur cube can also be found in the new sulfur cave, which is a feature many players will actually run into in their usual gameplay as they go mining. The issue with sulfur caves is that it's kind of a nothing biome. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for more cave biomes, and I'm still happy to see the caves get more diversified. It's just the new sulfur cave doesn't have that much to it to make it very interesting. As of right now, sulfur caves provide unique features through new sulfur and cinnabar brick sets, which are cool, although not the most practical blocks. And then through blocks like magma and potent sulfur, you can get new ambient effects like little sulfur clouds and geysers, which can shoot players up in the air, which is honestly pretty cool. But that's kind of it. It's not a bad biome, but it's really not all that exciting either. Once the geysers got announced, players finally started getting excited about the direction this biome could be going in, until shortly later they announced that the update was fully complete. So to put it simply, players are dissatisfied because the content itself is minimal, and the content that is present will really only be used by players that have interest in making stuff like minigames. Before the game drop system, we used to get updates each year overhauling aspects of the game that we frequently interacted with, starting with oceans, then villages, then the nether, and finally caves. Notice what all of these updates have in common. They're all staples of the game that the vast majority of players actually interact with, and inside these updates, they still had features that could be used and targeted for the niche communities as well. If you've enjoyed this video whatsoever so far, it would massively help me out if you could click that like button as well as subscribe so you never miss out on another video just like this one. You did it? Great, thanks. Back to the video. The second factor goes hand in hand with the announcement that the game drop is feature complete, and it's the fact that this update had so much potential to do more. The game drop currently just leaves a lot to be desired. Sulfur could have been greatly expanded upon, bringing features like a new fire color variant for torches, lanterns, and campfires. It could have made for a crafting recipe for gunpowder. It could have been an opportunity to add another new cave exclusive hostile mob, like the beetle mob that was initially rumored to be coming until it was revealed it was just a cave spider. Hell, they could have even brought back the rascal, as the drop is focused on caves. And for a drop focused on caves, I really don't think it would have been hard for them to add a few more cave variants alongside the sulfur cave. The sulfur cave itself isn't really that unique outside of the geysers and the effects from the potent sulfur. Besides those two features, the biome generates pretty similarly to a dripstone cave, except it has a different color scheme. However, the sulfur caves do have the unique sulfur pools, so it's not exactly the same. I'll give Mojang that. But why not add a few more biomes with a similar mindset? Players have been begging for a dry desert cave and ice caves for ages, and literally all they would have to do was a few more retextures. I mean, literally half of the stuff found in the sulfur cave is currently a retexture. Now, you could say this would just bloat the game with a ton of new biomes that don't really have that much that's unique to them, which I do honestly fully understand, but if they were to add a few cave biomes that were just visual variations of pre-existing biomes like the dripstone caves, I wouldn't be all that upset, as right now we have such a small number of cave biomes, so each one we do have does have a very unique vibe to it. But if you take a look at the overworld, there's plenty of biomes that really aren't all that different from each other. I mean, look at the oak and the birch forest. Besides some texture changes, they're really quite similar. The same thing could be said for the taiga biome and the snowy taiga. I think having biomes that are just slight variations of already existing biomes isn't a bad idea, but they have to do a lot of it. This game drop really could have done so much more for caves, which would have massively helped build excitement for the large chunk of the community that isn't really into the possibilities that come along with the sulfur cube. Which brings me to my third factor leading players to dislike the chaos cube drop, and it's just the result of following the game drop system. Most game drops add a few select features with a more niche use, and after 2 years of consistently getting game drops that only really add niche features, players are just starting to lose interest. Players crave an update that actually impacts their core gameplay. I feel like the last update to actually change the way we play the game was the Chase the Skies drop, as the happy gas has become very useful for building bigger scale projects. But even then, the happy gas is only used occasionally. I also think that the game drops that are being released are just not what people are really looking for. Instead of going back and actually improving on lacking areas of the game, they keep adding new features that nobody asked for. I mean, the fletching table is still waiting for a use after all these years. Now, I'm not against this, but I think that the complete lack of overhauling old aspects of the game is just a blatantly bad decision. You could say things like the tiny takeover and spring to life drop could count as overhauling old features, but those were mostly just changes to textures. And let's be real, who really cares about new baby mob textures beyond the initial 5 seconds of excitement? I think one of the major flaws of the game drop system is that the content it adds very often stays in its own little bubble. The content that's added really only revolves around itself rather than adding to the greater world of Minecraft. And that's not a bad thing for every single drop, but when every single drop is like that, it can start to cause problems. Overall, I think the sulfur cube being the main focus of this drop was a mistake. The feature is really cool, but it would have made a great addition as a part of a larger update, just not as the sole focus of one. So players aren't a fan of the chaos cube drop because of its considerably niche content, its lack of said content, and the overall growing desire for a more impactful update. But is the update really as bad as people are saying? My answer is no. The chaos cubed update has all really great features in my opinion. The sulfur cube opens up a ton of possibilities for fun builds and contraptions. The drop brings 2 new brick sets, and the geysers will provide for a ton of great new ways to add some more life to your build. So the content itself isn't bad, but it's just lacking. The game drop system is supposed to have smaller updates, but I just don't feel like the size is enough. I'm okay with smaller game drops, but that's why we had Tiny Takeover, which literally only added 1 new actual feature, being the golden dandelion. The following drop should have contained more. As someone who is a fan of the game drop system, I am also starting to feel the lack of major updates, as we really don't get major changes to the game like we used to. I'm not saying we don't get some new impactful features, as I almost always use the shelf block in builds now, and I always carry around a spear, but these game drops feel like they add only 1 or 2 new things to be interested in, and the rest is kinda just thrown to the side. Now, I am aware that the main reason Mojang is currently sticking with the game drop system is so they can rebuild the game's old and broken code, which is probably the right call for the longevity of the game, but I can't help but feel like each game drop gets me excited for the possibility, only to be disappointed. Chaos Cubed isn't a bad drop by any means, it's just not all that exciting, which kinda sums up the game drop system as a whole. But at the end of the day, that is just my opinion. What do you guys think of Minecraft's Chaos Cubed update? Do you like it, dislike it? What could they have improved upon? I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts, so leave any you have down in the comments below. Now, if you guys did enjoy this video, a like would be greatly appreciated, as well as subscribing so you never miss out on another video just like this one. It's completely free and goes a long way towards helping the channel out, so thank you. I do also have a Discord server, so if you'd like to get the chance to chat with me a bit more, I'll have a link in the description down below. Anyways, guys, that is it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.